I'll be right with you. Oh, there, that's better. Hello, my name is Patience. Patience is a great name, but it's also a word that means really good at waiting. And guess what? I am really good at waiting. I'm waiting right now for the king. In the castle grand we prepared each day for the king's arrival in each and every way. With hearts full of hope and voices that ring, we eagerly await our coming king. Oh, he's a great king, fair and kind, tall too. He's been away for a long time on important king business, so I'm getting ready for when he comes back. There'll be a big banquet, so the castle must be right clean from tippity-top to bippity-bottom. The best news of all, when the king returns, we'll celebrate Christmas together. Oh, Christmas! That's my favorite. My king is great. But did you know that long ago God promised an even greater king? A king who would rule forever, if you can believe it. There were times in God's big story, though, when it seemed like the promised king would never show up. Like when the kingdom of Israel split into two different kingdoms. The kingdom of Israel is where God's special people lived. Now, they weren't all together anymore. Dreadful, I know. Some of God's special people had to live in a place called Babylon. It must have been hard for them to wait for their king when they weren't even living in their own kingdom anymore. I know I'm quite comfy in my own kingdom. One of God's special people who had to live in Babylon was a man named Daniel. Because of God, Daniel was able to know what dreams meant. One night, he had a dream that was so important that he wrote it all down. Some parts of the dream were scary, but an angel told Daniel that the dream was actually good news. God still had a plan for his people. I'll tell you all about it. In the dream, Daniel saw a picture with winds from heaven blowing the waves of the sea, making it slosh all about. Back then, people were afraid of the sea. I am too a bit when it's sloshing this way and that. This stormy sea might have been like how God's special people felt living in a strange land. One day, they might feel calm, and another day, they might feel scared. Back to Daniel's dream that was becoming even more strange. Powerful beasts rose out of the sea. The angel said they stood for powerful kings who would rule on earth. The good news is that God would always be way more powerful. That's why everything in the dream suddenly became peaceful. God was on the throne in charge of everything. Poof! The beasts were gone. God had won. Then Daniel saw the king that God had promised, the king who would rule forever. This king went right up to God, and God put him in charge of, well, everything. In Daniel's dream, people from all over the world worshipped him, just like God promised. When Daniel woke up, he didn't know who the king was. But we do, don't we? He was Jesus, who would be born as a tiny little baby in Bethlehem. We know that he's the reason we celebrate Christmas. And we know that he is the forever king to all of God's people. This dream reminded Daniel that God was going to help his people. And he believed the truth that God would send a forever king. Oh, I'm so glad I had time to share some of God's big story with you. It's one of my favorite things to do. But now it's time to get back to work. This castle isn't going to clean itself. There's a lot to do before my king returns. Bye.